So let me start off by giving you some of my insights on how to succeed academically. First of all, please try to find a way to allow yourself to like the coursework that you're doing in school. Allow the ideas that you learn in classes to fascinate you, to inspire you, because if you like your subjects, then it's much easier for you to do well in them. Allow yourself to delve into the world of history, of science, mathematics, English, and so forth. If you have that attitude, then you have a stronger incentive to do well in school. Let me tell you a little story. When I first told my friend in high school that I was going to take an art history class, my friend's first response was, well, art was boring, history was boring, art history must be very boring. But if that had been my attitude for my class, then I would not have been done so well. Instead, I tried to make myself excited about the course. I was fascinated by how I could get to learn about all the ingenious artistic expressions that human beings had figured out. And because I have that excitement, that incentive, I was able to work hard and eventually ended up being one of the few people who got an A in the course. If you are one of those people who just do not like a particular subject, think about it this way. Think of it as a challenge for yourself. You'll be a smarter and a stronger person after having gone through a course. Secondly, if you put a little bit more time to a subject, you might find the subject a little bit more enjoyable than you originally thought it was. So to sum up, you really have to like something to do well in it. If you don't like to do something, then every assignment will be just painful to you. My second piece of advice to succeed academically is that you should read a lot. Studies have shown that students who read a lot tend to do better in school. Why? That's because classes like English, history, social studies require that students be able to analyze and read critically and think critically. And reading a lot just gives you that practice. Also, if you read a lot, your language will be better and your language reasoning ability will be better and you will have a sharper mind. If you don't like to read, then listen to my following concrete suggestions. First, I would suggest you to go to visit a local bookstore and get yourself excited about some book covers and topics. Secondly, read something that you like. Because if you read something that interests you, then you have more motivation to keep reading more. Thirdly, if you find a book and you're reading a book and you find out that you don't like to read that book, don't worry about putting that book aside and getting another book, because you don't want that bad reading experience to ruin your experience in reading. Fourthly, I really recommend you to start reading newspapers because the writing is concise and it's great. I personally recommend reading New York Times because it's free online and the quality of the writing is great. The website is simply nytimes.com. And lastly, one helpful technique to improve your reading is to summarize each reading passage after you've done it. Because if you summarize the passage, it forces you to understand the main ideas of the passage. And that's exactly what a lot of standardized reading tests test you. Now let me talk about the more practical matters, how I got into Harvard. In general, I think the key to compiling an outstanding application package is balance. What does that mean? Colleges want to see that you are a well-rounded person. So if you happen to be very good at math and science, you also want to explore the arts, sports, and debate. And I've heard of people who got a perfect score on the SATs but did not get into Harvard. Why? Because they did very little extracurricular activities. And if you get a very great recommendation letter from your science teacher, but none from your social studies teacher, that's not good either. So balance is very important. Let me talk about what I did in high school. In my freshman in high school, I wasn't really thinking about college yet. I spent most of my time and effort to do well in school. I took 3 honors classes, one in English, biology, and math. My biology class was very tough. I remember I had to study each chapter about 4 times for a test. And because I studied hard, I did well in the class. And doing well in my freshman year helped me to gain the confidence that I needed for my rest of my 3 years in high school. Also, taking honors classes gave me the skills necessary to do well in the later 3 years in my high school. But here are 2 things to keep in mind. First, don't overload yourself with too many difficult classes. If you take too many difficult classes, it's hard to do well. And secondly, for those of you who happen to not have done so well in freshman year, don't worry about that. Instead of regretting your bad grades, focus on how you can improve on your grades because that's what matters the most. Do not let your past have any bearings on your present. So in my sophomore year, I continued to take challenging courses. I took 4 honors classes, and my English class in particular was very challenging for me. My English teacher had very high expectation of our essay. I remember getting some C's on some of my assignments, but gradually I managed to understand what was expected of us. I was always attentive in class, and I tried to improve myself. For example, for essays, I would always brainstorm and free write a lot before I actually start to write the essay. And because I worked hard, I did well in the class. Besides from the academics, I also participated in a project called World Affairs Challenge. I did this for 3 years, in my sophomore, junior, and senior year. Basically, in the project, 10 students in my high school and I gathered together and worked on a research project. Our topic was the maltreatment of child soldiers, nuclear energy, and water problems. We got together and did intensive research on these topics and figured out some possible solutions to these problems. And the project lasted for 4 months, and I was the team captain for the project. As the team captain, I had to keep track of the team's progress, synthesize large amounts of reading materials, facilitate discussions for my team, and make sure that my team was on track of things. We worked very hard on the project, and we actually ended up getting some great awards, including the Best Presentation Award, the Best Research Award, and etc. This opportunity allowed me to gain a lot of valuable skills, for example, communication skills, project management skills, and research skills, and these were valuable to me. At that time, I was more interested in the sciences, but this opportunity gave me a chance to explore the social sciences. I would highly recommend you to do similar projects like the World Affairs Challenge project, because colleges look favorably into students who do similar projects. These projects show that you're dedicated, that you're committed, and that you're able to do long-term, sophisticated analysis.